Hello and welcome. Today I am asking the question, how does one go about learning a raga? Well, the Hindustani classical music system has an amazing way of organizing all of these complex melodies known as ragas. And I've broken it down into 6 main steps that a student goes through to get an understanding of a rag and be able to then start improvising and performing a rag. So I want to address, what is a raga first. I'm assuming that you know what a raga is, but in case that isn't clear, let's just briefly touch over what a raga is before we dive into how we go about learning one. So a raga, I like to think of it in 2 ways. First, the abstract and creative side, and then the theoretical side of it. So let's first look at the abstract and creative side. And in that sense, a raga is really like a mood that comes through the form of sound. And in that sense, every raga has its own time of day or season, and it comes most to life at that certain time of day. And these ragas are melodies that have been carried on for over 1,000 years and come from a time of deep connection to nature and the elements. And on a technical, theoretical side, a raga is a group of notes that is used in a very specific way to create this feeling. So that gives us a really basic sense of what a raga is, and now let's come back to these 6 steps of how we go about learning it. So step number 1 is something called the Thaat system. Now, a Thaat is not a raga. So what is a Thaat then? A Thaat is essentially a scale, and there are 10 main Thaats, and we refer to these as parent scales in the sense that these are the scales from which a rag can be derived from. But now a Thaat is a scale, but a raga is not a scale. So that's important to remember. And that's why we use this term parent. It's like out of one Thaat, let's say the Kalyan Thaat, that Thaat can have many different children, and each children is going to have its own unique characteristics. So the Thaat system is essentially this way of organizing the many ragas. And I just want to make a note that not all scholars agree with the use of the Thaat system. There are some rags that are kind of outliers. They don't seem to fit in there. But at the end of the day, every student will really gain a lot by learning about the Thaat system. So that is the first step, is we want to see what Thaat does this rag come from. And now we're going to use Raga Yaman today as a reference point for talking about raga. So let's say that we want to go about learning Raga Yaman. Now that Thaat that I just talked about for Raga Yaman is called the Kalyan Thaat. So we have our Kalyan Thaat. Let me just play that for you. So you can hear this is an equivalent to a Lydian mode in Western music. And so now we need to step into what makes the rag, what makes Rag Yaman, or any other rag, its unique melody, separate from just a scale. So we're going to go into that. This is something called the Arohi and Avarohi. It literally means ascending, descending. So for Rag Yaman, now on the Ascent, if you listen, I'm not playing every note on the way up. I'm skipping a few notes. I'm starting on the C sharp, the note below our tonic D, da, 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 and then I'm skipping the 5th note, the A, and moving up. So that gives me this certain flavor. And we come up when we use 6 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then back. So this is our ascending pattern for Rag Yaman. Now how do we come back at the descending in Rag Yaman? That is just as if you were playing a scale. We touch on every note back. And so this is our second step in identifying a raga, the Arohi and Avarohi. Now let's move on to the third step. It's something called Vadi and Samvadi. And what this means is literally translates to the king note and the prime minister note. So every rag will have its Vadi and Samvadi note. And what this tells us is what notes are the most important stressors, and what notes do we emphasize the most, what notes do we rest on in between phrases. And so each rag will have its own Vadi and Samvadi. So we've got our Thaat, which is number 1, our Arohi and Avarohi number 2, number 3, the Vadi Samvadi. Now we're at number 4. Number 4 is something called the Pakar phrase, which it means the catchphrase. And this means that you hear this short phrase and it shows you that, oh, this must be Rag Yaman. There's no other rag this could be except for Rag Yaman. And so that is the Pakar. And towards the end of this video, I'm going to teach you this Pakar for Rag Yaman to give you something you can practice and work with. But for now, I'm going to move on to number 5, which is called the Chalan. Chalan. What is a Chalan? A Chalan is a longer piece that actually goes into the longer phrases as if you were improvising in the rag and stopping at a certain point and going up and moving around. Because everything that we've done so far, the Thaat, the Arohi, Avarohi, the Vadi Samvadi, and the Pakar, they're just small clues. They're not actually showing you how you would play it like a piece or a movement. And so the Chalan is that piece. It's a beautiful key to a rag or map to a rag. And every student should memorize the Chalan and practice it as much as they can. It really imprints the rag into your mind. And so that was our 5th. Now we're on number 6. And number 6 is more compositions. And when I say composition, I mean a fixed composed piece of music that is composed in the rag. So in Rag Yaman, there are hundreds of compositions. And these compositions will be set to a unique rhythmic cycle as well. And it could be a 16-beat cycle, a 7-beat cycle, a 10-beat cycle, whatever the composer has chosen. And through learning these compositions, these become like our starting points for improvisation. So you learn a composition, play the composition, improvise, and come back to the composition. And these are very important. When you're learning a rag, you simply want to learn as many compositions as you can to help you formulate a picture of the rag. So this is a lot of information, I know, but it's really just going to help give you just a little bit of frame about the steps of learning a rag. And something that I'm really excited about is that I have designed a course called Raga for All Instruments. It's an online course, and I break down all of these elements in much more detail. And I work with each bit of this in Rag Yaman to show you each of these parts. And by the end of this course, you really will have a strong sense of Rag Yaman. You'll be able to improvise in it and work through it. And I'm gifting the first 4 videos of this course for free. So it's a great opportunity just to jump in and keep learning more about this raga music. And before I end, I want to recap one more time and teach you this Pakar phrase for Rag Yaman. So the Thaat, number 1, is the scale that the raga comes from. Number 2 is the ascending and descending pattern that is unique to that raga. Number 3 is the Vadi and the Samvadi, the 2 most important notes. Number 4 is the Pakar, which I'm going to teach you very soon, the short phrase. Number 5 is the Chalan, the longer piece that's a map to the rag. Number 6 are the compositions that are fixed pieces in the rag to a rhythmic cycle. So, Yaman Pakar. Da, da, da. We're in the key of D major. So I'm playing C sharp, E, F sharp. We would say ni, re, ga. Our second phrase, F sharp, G sharp, A. So we have da, 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 da. And then A, G sharp, F sharp, E, C sharp, B, D. Let's do the whole piece, the whole pucker. So if you heard that phrase, you would know this must be Raga. One more time. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 do, do. Well, I hope that all this information about how one goes about learning a raga has been useful and informative. And I'm really excited to share the creation of a course called Raga for All Instruments. And my vision behind this course is this idea that really any musician can tap into the beauty of raga music. And that is specifically why today I'm using my guitar. Guitar is not a traditional Indian instrument. I also play on the sitar as my main instrument. But the beauty of this music is that whether you play the cello or the flute or the piano, you can bring out the mood of the rag and learn the foundational concepts that this music has to offer. And so in my online course, we're going to go into much more detail on all of these topics we touched here. And by the end of the course, you're going to have a really good understanding of Rag Yaman. You'll be able to improvise and have compositions you can perform, and it'll give you the foundation for moving on to study any more ragas. So this is a great beginning point for your journey into rag music. And another cool thing is I'm gifting the first 4 videos of this course to you for free. Just check out the link below so you can go ahead and get started on your raga music journey. And yeah, I just want to emphasize again how amazing it is that this music is accessible to all musicians. And I hope that you can enjoy bringing some of this flavor into your own music. Thanks for joining me.